is that it's now become such a ubiquitous and corrosive impact on our society that I can't find it funny anymore. I mean, I don't. It's hard for me to have. I'm trying to be a funny astronaut, but I have a hard time having a sense of humor about that kind of thing. I feel like Buzz Aldrin, that when a guy came up and said that the moon landing was a hoax, he clocked him, he hit him with a right hook and knocked him on his butt, and then he hit him with a right hook and knocked him on his butt, and that's kind of like what I want to do.
You know, when I used to get that question about the moon landing being fake, Garrett, I think at first I had like your reaction to it, that, oh yes, it's unbelievable, it's hard to believe, but we actually do these things. But I tell you, I've changed a little bit. I was at Alan Bean's internment at Alan Bean the Moonwalker, his internment at Arlington, and I was asked to be an honorary pallbearer for him by his wife. This was quite an honor. And next to me the guys next to me were all the Apollo guys. Were standing there next to me, including your friend Bill Anders, that is your neighbor now, right, Garrett, and
yep.
And Charlie Duke.
Bill, everybody, do you know who Bill Anders is?
Bill Anders.
Everybody, do you know who Bill Anders is?
Tell us, Bill.
He took the picture, man. He took the picture.
He took on Apollo 8. He took that picture, and yeah. But I remember standing there next to these guys, thinking that what they did, not only what they did, but what that whole team did by putting people on the moon, was a great I think the greatest accomplishment ever, and we're not going to match that for a long time. And to say that it didn't happen or claim it didn't happen, I don't think it's funny anymore. I think it's disrespectful to the memory, because we're losing these. They're older now, and we're losing the guys that walked on the moon and all the men and women that made it possible. So I don't necessarily think that's a funny thing any longer. I think that it's somewhat disrespectful.
Well, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, but it's around. People are still doing it. But the best argument I've heard against it, and I mean this in a thoughtful way, it's one that I think Neil deGrasse Tyson may have come up with, but definitely I've heard him mention it, is the amount of paperwork. Like, if you're going to fake the moon landing, the cost of producing all that paperwork, and I'm not joking, man, it's warehouses full of documents and drawings and calculations. Just to fake all that would be more than you could afford.
Yeah, and a lot harder than doing it.
Crazy.
They might have thought of that. Let's try to fake this. It's too hard. Let's just go.
Let's just do it. So I'm working now as a consultant for a TV show called For All Mankind on Apple TV, and it's an alternate history of the space race and all that.
Yeah, where the Russians, the Soviets rather, had beaten the U.S.
That was the premise.
If you have any arguments with its science, Bill, you can take it directly up with Garrett.
I can try to.
Right to
before
him.
we start, Garrett was going to make a point. Garrett was going to make a point.
Thing.
And it's all
right. It's all right.
It's good for you. He appreciates the feedback.
Are you done, Mass?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the great thing about thank you. The great thing about working on this production is that they actually do want to get as much of the science right as they can. And the story is always going to win. And I tell people who get mad at me if something is wrong, I'm like, you've all seen the Academy Awards, right? They don't give out an Oscar for orbital mechanics, all right? You get an Oscar for direction, for writing, for acting. Yeah, I think there should be an Oscar for orbital mechanics. But anyway, they don't have one. So they do their best. But I kind of hoped, and we were trying. We had a lot of scenes that we shot on a soundstage in Hollywood, of people walking on the moon. Okay, and I know where this is going, and I was telling people, and I hope that we did make a few errors. Okay, so if you look really carefully at the show, you'll see a few things that are wrong, and I'm proud of that, because I'm like, I want to tell people. You see, even in this day and age with all this computer visual effects and $1 million budgets for stunts and everything else we got, you still can't fake a moon landing. You can't do it. I mean, you can't get it perfectly right.
What's wrong? What can we look for? Is it a Starbucks cup in the foreground or something?
No, we didn't do no Game of Thrones screw ups like that. But we did. There are things like, for example. If you look closely, we don't always get the regolith doesn't always come off in following a parabolic trajectory in in the absence of any atmospheric drag. If you look, like another thing is we don't really get the dust right. Like the suits are and the rovers are all like sparkling clean, like they just came off the showroom floor, and they're not covered in all the regolith like they really would be. So there are things like that.
The spacesuit showroom floor.
The spacesuit showroom floor. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it's hard. It's really, 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 even with all the technology we have today. In the '60s, faking it would have been much harder than doing it.
That's the reason we were only able to stay on the moon 33 hours.
The travel reimbursement was $33.
Because we didn't go there, and unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
Watched you guys land on the moon.
No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation.
Fiction means it's a made-up story. Fiction means it's a made-up story.
Fiction means it's a made-up story.
Could it be that you're filming in an underwater pool and you're not really out there?
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, the moon, Mars, the moon. There's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.